Okay, in this chapter, what we want to do is we want to kind of expand upon what we just did with identifying the 5 phases. Don't want to go into a whole lot of detail, but I do want to highlight just a couple points about a non-core 5 trained hitter and what it looks like. And it kind of sets the stage for the next chapter when we really focus on the phase 3 and the power and the value. And this way, by giving you the examples of a correct version and a non-trained version, what I want to do is really give you a visual, have a better grasp on what we're going to be doing in the preceding chapter. So here you have a player who is the same age as our previous model swing, same body type, strength, but there's a lot of difference here in the movements throughout the swing, and we're going to highlight a little bit on the phase 3 issue. So in looking at this particular clip as an example of what we would normally do from a video training, and what you would want to do as well by having a desktop software and having your player or players clips, is that we've got him in set here. And this particular model, what's interesting, he has been trained and they felt like he's got a great stance is what they would say. And of course we know immediately by virtue of one of the real fundamental principles is that the bottom half leads the swing and the upper half follows. Remember that. The bottom half leads the swing and the upper half follows. And so with that idea, as I look at this swing almost immediately, or look at a player in a game or in a cage, I know from experience in doing this that those hands are not set properly. In fact, they should be right about here. The black glove should be right about here, giving himself room to move him back through here and go into that phase 2 that we just went to. But he is already en route to that phase 2 position in his setup, which tells me that there's probably something wrong with the bottom of the swing that makes it necessary for him to keep his hands back there. Okay? And that's a tip to me that I know something's wrong with the lower half. A lot of folks will say, get your back elbow up. Folks will emphasize on all the upper body things. Get your arms right, get your head tucked, bite your shirt, and all these other things, when actually the whole game is down here. And I'm going to show you that in a second. So I know by looking at this clip, those hands are wrong. But the late coach out there typically would say, hey, that looks pretty good. And they did. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and move through with the idea that I'm going to freeze him at the phase 3. We've pretty much made the point that phase 3 is where we're trying to get to. So let's go ahead and take him through a slow motion process. Let him load. And then there you have it right there. You've got that foot moving away from the plate. Of course, the other fundamental rule that ties in with the lower half of the body leading, the upper half following, all of it sits on the platform of balance and direction. Mechanics in this sport, whether it's pitching or hitting, are all predicated on having proper balance throughout the movements and proper direction. And that direction in this particular example would be, if we're hitting, would be that you'd want to keep everything in on the plate. So we move back. We want to keep everything in on the plate. We want to keep his hands, everything in this direction. Anything away from the plate takes us away from the direction because the ball is coming into this particular territory. So if you're moving away, you're losing direction. And in the process of losing direction, what you're going to see here is you're going to also see a loss of balance. Because if I take it back here, I'll make it even more clear that you can see that you see some shadows underneath that toe. Well, that is an example of the weight being transferred to the heel. He's sitting on his front heel supporting that movement, which now he's lost direction and balance, which is going to really affect how he is going to make contact in 4. And now, no, we're still in just 2, right? We're trying to make our way into phase 3. And of course 3 goes to 4. But I'm going to tell you right now, just from the fact that his hand started high, we know that he's not going to probably make decent contact at 4 and not do it with much authority. And if he does, he hits it with any authority, he's hit it on the wrong side of the ball. He's wrapped around it, he's pulled it, because this guy's trying to pull. And of course, with the 5 key flaws that we experience, and we do a whole video ebook presentation on that, the front side of your body does a variety of different things. And in this particular case, because of his body type, he is strong, he's a thick kid, he's trying to clear the hips with this movement to help him get the hips through, because he's not able to get the hips through properly through the rotation of the backside because all the weight's on the heel, and you can't rotate that way. So he's just trying to clear his hips. That's all he's trying to do. So with that, now we've established that his direction's wrong, his balance wrong, and he started wrong. So the domino theory principle would come into play with the hands, even at the initial stance, as we mentioned. This guy is going to have some problems making decent contact with the baseball, obviously. So let's play through, and let's get him into the C position. And I'm going to show you a little something that's unique. As he comes into the C position here, he starts to drop that head right here. Now let me draw where his bat head is at this point. The bat head right now is actually pretty decent. Now he hasn't quite hit the contact zone yet. And let's go ahead, and the contact zone would be right about in here for him right before he moved. And right in the next frame or so, he's going to drop that bat head. Now here we go. Now let's go ahead and get that next line in place, because that bat head is now down, which means that's not good, because we want the bat head as a fundamental rule as we enter the phase 3 slot. The phase 3 being this line. When we make contact here, we want that bat head up, not down. So here we go. He goes into that, clears through. He's made contact, and the bat head's down. Now, I know that he makes contact. He's going to probably be just over the top of the ball if the ball is down in the zone, and if the ball is up in the zone, I know that he's probably going to hit underneath the ball. That's almost a given. So here we go, and I'm going to show you. He comes through and makes contact right here. Contact has just been made. Now you can probably vaguely see what I'm talking about here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to give you, here it is, that's contact. He's made contact right there, and we're going to try to track that ball all the way up here in foul territory as it fouls off as I go through. There it is. Here it is again. There's a tint of orange right here and a tint of orange right there, because he's hit underneath the baseball. And of course here you can see here's another example, and here's a second. So we're getting 2 shots of the ball here moving out. So the ball's been fouled back out of play. So you take a big strong kid like this who has started incorrectly, doesn't understand the process of Core 5. He's got a pitch that was kind of right about midline, right there at the belt, right between being a high pitch and between being a low pitch. I mean, right down the heart of the plate, and he wasted the opportunity to drive that pitch because he started wrong and did not have any fluency in bringing the phases in together. And so with that, you're going to see more of this than you're going to see probably of the previous example, and a lot of variation in not only that particular movement, but that particular ability to rotate the backside and some other things. Now, big, strong kid, but he wasted an opportunity there, and we see a lot of it. So with that, let's talk a little bit more about how the first 2 phases of the swing come into the phase 3 and what it should really look like in order to be very consistent. And I hope that this has been a help to contrast what the 5 phases look like, and really what a player who's not trained in the 5 phases, how often they miss out on hitting consistently.